Qaw'mane Wilson, better known to his fans as Young QC, was an aspiring Chicago rapper before his life spiraled out of control. However, nobody should feel bad for the dreamer, as he did the unthinkable to make some fast cash. While some aspiring rappers have found themselves in prison, QC is the only one who hired a hitman to go after their own mom. How did the desire for money and fame lead this aspiring rapper to such an evil place? Young QC's mother, Yolanda Holmes, spent 15 years owning and operating NappyHeadz hair salon in Chicago. She specialized in natural hair and mastered the art of dreadlocking, twisting, and braiding. Her friends called her Yogi, and they knew her as a kind-hearted person who was very involved with the community. She hosted back-to-school parties for kids every year at the salon and gave out free school supplies to those who couldn't afford them. She was a cheerleader in high school and an extra in the 1986 movie, Wildcats. She didn't have any enemies, so her death was a blow to everyone who knew her. Tia Bovia, a hairdresser at NappyHeadz, remembered Yolanda as therapeutic for everyone that sat in her chair. She was a true friend. Yolanda Holmes, Yolanda's sister, continued to run the salon after Yolanda's death in 2012. However, the emotional toll proved too heavy, and the salon shut down that same year. She said Yolanda loved taking all the nieces and nephews to the water park and bought them new clothes and shoes when she could. Yolanda recalled how her sister was always there to look out for her and make sure she was okay. The last thing Yolanda wanted was for her only son to end up like his father. QC's father led a Chicago gang and was arrested for murder and aggravated arson in 1990. His crew made everyone on the street pay them protection money. When a narcotics house in their territory refused, he told them to pay up or move out. They didn't budge, so QC's dad set the whole apartment building on fire, and the stubborn dealers perished in the fire. The state served young QC's father with a life sentence that he is still currently serving. Yolanda fit the mold of perfect mother, but that didn't stop tragedy from striking. On a September night in 2012, a man broke into her Chicago apartment and took her life. Yolanda's boyfriend Curtis fought the intruder off, but not before getting a good look at his face. The intruder fled and Curtis returned to Yolanda's side. Sadly, it was too late. Yolanda spoiled young QC every chance she could. He was her only child, and she gave him whatever he wanted, whenever he wanted it. She bought him a Mustang, a wardrobe of designer clothes, and anything else he wanted. She sent him to private schools to keep him away from gangs and helped him get jobs to keep him off the streets. In short, she did everything she could and more. But QC was either a psychopath or had some sort of insatiable greed. No matter what Yolanda did, nothing was ever enough. QC had a YouTube channel, which is still up, called QC Works. There are only 16 videos, some of which are his very generic rap singles. Others are part of a dramatic web series called The Nick's Story. He wanted to be a rapper, but it's clear from the channel that all he really wanted were the perks of being a rapper. You know, the money, the clothes, the cars, and the attention. If the influencer career path had been a thing 8 years ago, QC would have been drawn to it. Music for the sake of music clearly didn't interest him. In his video descriptions, he called himself one of the top celebrities in the city. An obvious delusion. His heinous crimes are the only reason anybody ever spoke or remembered his name. The most disturbing video on the channel is called Nick Giving Back to His Fans Part 1 and was posted 8 months after his mother passed away. There are no other parts, although he planned to make more before he was arrested. In it, he drives up to a Chase Bank in Chicago in his Mustang fitted with custom gull-wing doors. He went into the bank with a couple of other guys and talked about how he's withdrawing thousands of dollars to give back to his supposed fans. What he doesn't say in the video is that he inherited this money from his mom after she died. The rest of the video is just him driving around, throwing money at random people around Chicago who clearly don't recognize him. He talks about how he wants to give back. It would almost be funny if it weren't so creepy and sad. He inherited $90,000 after his mom died. He also got money from the multiple life insurance policies Yolanda took out on herself. Even in death, she made sure he would be provided for. After he was arrested, QC admitted to plotting against his mom for financial gain. However, he claimed he didn't want it to go as far as it did. He told the police that he planned to hire someone to rob his mom, and it went south somehow. Hiring someone to rob your mom is still pretty evil, but he wouldn't have gotten 99 years in prison. The getaway driver also claimed that it was supposed to be a robbery. The hitman, Spencer, told the police a very different story. He said that young QC offered him $3,500 to take his mom out. $3,500 might not seem like a lot considering the nature of the job at hand, but apparently it was enough for Spencer because he took the deal. He was no expert assassin, and the hit did not go as planned. Before Wilson walked into Yolanda's apartment, QC told him to make sure the job got done. He broke into Yolanda's apartment where he found her asleep in bed with her boyfriend, Curtis. Spencer shot Yolanda and got in a fight with Curtis. Spencer fled the apartment and called QC to report the job had been done. Apparently, Spencer never realized that if he wanted to get away with this, he would have to deal with the boyfriend who had seen his face. Despite this oversight, the case went unsolved for a year. It wasn't until December 2013 that police made an arrest. It's not uncommon for violent crime to go unsolved in Chicago, as witnesses are often reluctant to come forward out of concern for their safety. Despite QC inheriting $90,000 after the job, he never paid Spencer for the hit. Spencer says he was ultimately paid just $70 for taking Yolanda's life. Is $70 worth 100 years in prison? We don't think so. Ironically, QC wound up on the news before he got arrested. He got on the news because of a totally different incident, not having anything to do with his mom. He attended the funeral of Hadiah Pendleton and happened to be interviewed by a local reporter. He told him that, like Hadiah, his mother had been senselessly murdered. It's pretty eerie to watch him lie directly to the camera talking about his own mother's passing when he himself did it. He's either a completely skilled actor or a complete sociopath to speak like this in public about the whole thing. We'll let you figure out which one he most likely is. Qaw'mane Wilson was sentenced to 99 years in prison after police uncovered what had happened to his mother. Qaw'mane had hired a hitman to end her life early. That hitman, Eugene Spencer, got 100 years in prison. Perhaps the court decided that pulling the trigger is 1% worse than paying someone to do it. Either way, they were convicted of first-degree murder and will spend the rest of their lives in jail. Spencer was also convicted of home invasion and aggravated discharge of a firearm as a nice cherry on top. A third person, a getaway driver named Loriana Johnson, received 14 years for participation. 14 years seems like nothing compared to 100, but that's still a significant portion of her life. She was 23 when she was arrested. She'll be 37 when she gets out. The proper term for QC's crime is matricide. QC repaid his mother's love with pure betrayal, a choice that disgusted the judge and most likely played a role in his sentencing. The judge then asked young QC if he had anything to say after being sentenced. QC replied, "Nobody loved my mother more than me. She was all I had." There were probably people who loved her more than the guy who hired a hitman to go after her, but that didn't get brought up in court. QC's defense attorney has told the press that they have plans to appeal, but they've been unsuccessful so far. He argued without real reason that the judge shouldn't have been on the case and that the police interrogation was coercive. So far, no judge has agreed with him, and it doesn't look like young QC has any real chance of getting out of jail unless he lives to be 130. Yolanda's death and QC's involvement shocked the entire community. Based on their seemingly loving relationship, nobody ever expected QC to hurt his own mother. Perhaps his love of money won the day. Yolanda managed to keep QC off the streets and out of gangs. He was by no means a violent person before that night in September. By all accounts, he and his mom got along perfectly and were actually very close to each other. QC was denied bail due to the heinous nature of his crimes and the shockingly low levels of remorse he demonstrated afterward. During his trial, the prosecutors played the video where QC goes to the bank. They also played a video where he's flexing in a mirror with a gold chain and a bunch of $100 bills. It didn't exactly make the jury feel very sympathetic towards him. QC's defense attorney said that showing the videos was unfair and only proved that QC was bad. When your defense attorney calls you a bad person in court, you know things aren't going well. The jury deliberated for 2 hours before they convicted him. Ironically, young QC would get the fame he always wanted after the trial, but he couldn't profit from it. The true crime show, Suspicious Minds, aired an episode about him called Chi-Town Gossip. He probably would have loved seeing himself on TV if he didn't have to watch from a prison cell. Qaw'mane's aunt, Yolanda Holmes, said after the trial, "I was hoping it wasn't him. I'm glad we got closure. I'm trying to figure out why he would do such a thing. Yolanda did everything for him." Click to watch one of these next videos.